Hello, I'm Becky. Thank you for visiting my channel, Springing Art. This month, Nate Bright has asked his Patreon group, Nate's Art Lab, to mix colors on the palette, the autumn palette above, and then create something with it. Well, the mixing wasn't all that hard. There were one or two colors that were a challenge, but overall the mixing wasn't difficult. However, I could not get anything to work in this palette. So what I'll do in this video is to discuss the mixing of one of the colors that was a little bit more challenging, and then go over some of the methods and some of the different media that I used until I finally came up with something that worked, that was slightly pleasing to my eye, and I kept it. Oh, by the way, the consistency guide that I'm using to put my colors on is from Tammy DeCaro's Create Monthly Club. Thank you, Tammy, and feel free, everybody, to go and visit her website. Okay, so we're going to start mixing our pigments, Lakeside and Nebula from TLP, with a little bit of Jo Sonja Gloss Varnish. I think you can tell that we've already gotten our colors established, but now we have to mix up enough to actually paint for our project. And there's a big difference from mixing up just a tiny little spot and mixing up enough for your project. But having done the work before, it is less work now. You know what colors you need to grab for. So as I said, I started off with Lakeside and Nebula. I started with Lakeside. I thought it was a really pretty turquoise color that was lighter than what Nate wanted in his palette. But with the Nebula, I thought I could darken it up to about that color. So it's always wise when you start mixing to add your lighter colors first, and then mix your darker colors with it, because the darker colors are so overwhelming that if you put down a blob, you'd have to put down an awful lot more light. So always start with your light first. I think that's what I'm getting ready to do right here, is to start with my light pigment. I'm just using a regular 4x4 ceramic tile to mix this on, and I'm starting with a very small amount, but as you'll see, and I apologize for the view, I really do have to figure out a way to put my camera in this tiny little room so that people can see it, and I'll work on that this week. But you can see I'm starting from a small little dot here, and I actually end up adding too much of the Nebula here, and I'll end up going back and adding more of the Lakeside. I put your dots down and then mix really well. It's really simple at this point, but it's going to get to be a little bit less simple as we add more pigments and more paints to this. So you want to just continue mixing until you get something that you feel is fairly close, and then you stop, you evaluate it, and say, where do I need to go now? In this case, I felt like I needed to add some of the phthalo green, and that is by Master's Touch, I believe. Yeah, the Master's Touch phthalo green. And now I'm going to mix that and see where we get to with that. You cannot see it too well in here, but I'll be adding a little bit of the Ultramarine Blue by Arteza also. Those were the 4 colors that I used to create this match. As I go along, and I think that I'm fairly close, you'll see me put a dot next to the what I call the true color that I'm trying to match, and I'll be able to evaluate it more closely when it's right side by side, and then I can decide what I actually need to add to it at that point in time. Okay, now for some fun, we're going to look at the multiple attempts I made to use this palette in a variety of different methods and different media. This is a tray, a 14-inch tray, that is my bad luck tray. I got it at a lovely seminar that Tracy gave at the Fluid Art Boutique in DC recently. Unfortunately, that painting cracked. I sanded the whole thing down. I painted it again. It cracked again. I did not sand it down for this one. I just was hoping that the paint was going to take care of itself, but it didn't. You can see the cracks very obviously through here, and that just didn't hurt my feelings at all because I did not like this painting. It has no contrast, and I don't like green, and there's a lot of green, and then I don't like orange, and there's a lot of orange. Okay, we're moving on to a 6x8 cheese board. See if we have better luck. This is a traveling straight pour with three lines in it. I didn't like it at all. And for try number 2, I'm not even sure what method I used on this, to be perfectly honest, but I didn't like it either. I gave up on the cheese board for the evening after this ring pour, which has absolutely no contrast. Next, I thought I would try a Nautilus pour on this clock face. Well, this isn't the greatest Nautilus pour because I didn't get the spiral that Nate is famous for, but the colors are better here. I have some contrast, but I'm still not happy with the colors, so I decided to take it outside, take a picture of it, and let the group see what they thought about the contrast level, and I tripped and fell into it. Well, again, my feelings weren't hurt because this was not my favorite painting. Okay, Nate's in vacation in the backwoods of Canada. I have no idea whether I'm allowed to add white, but I need white or something for contrast. So I've added white, and I have no idea what pour this was. I'm guessing it's the middle of a straight pour, but it does look better to me. I have more contrast. I have brown and I have blue, and I like those colors, so I'm keeping this one. This is my cheese board. Somebody in the art lab did a swipe, and I thought, well, there's one technique I haven't tried. So I decided to do some swipes on 4x4 tiles, and I like the way they came out. I'm pretty happy with those, so I'm keeping those. And finally, somebody posted a picture in the group of a beautiful bloom. Well, all I had was acrylic paints, but I have always said that this method is much more flexible and much more forgiving than people make it, so I'm just going to give it a try with my acrylic paints. I did add a little bit of my pouring medium to some white paint because the white paint was very thin and I wanted a little bit more of a pillow. Despite that, I still blew through it. You can see the big white blob there where I blew through it. But I got a bloom, cells and everything. It's an atrociously bad bloom, but it is a bloom. And with that, I think we're going to end the evening. I told them to put me at the end, and if I am at the end, I really do appreciate the fact that you guys have stuck with our train. And please come and join us at Nate's Art Lab. We have a great time.